A Denver City Councilwoman suggests a tax on white-owned businesses to support minority-owned businesses.
And I think there's a model that could be redistributed.
One final gun control bill makes it to the governor. You think your property tax assessment is bad? How about the businesses that face a tax bill that's more than doubling?
Ultimately just comes down to, are we able to stay in business?
We asked Denver's mayor if he's living up to his very public promise to make this an immigrant-friendly city.
Well, I don't know what an image of a sanctuary city looks like.
And we meet up with the Coloradans who are packing the next airlift of supplies headed for Ukraine. Tonight on Next. A Denver City Councilwoman up for re-election is suggesting a tax on white business owners to pay reparations to black and brown business owners. Councilwoman Candy Cidabacca has not made a formal proposal of a race-based tax, which would almost certainly draw an immediate challenge on constitutional grounds.
Capitalism was built on stolen land, stolen labor, and stolen resources.
Denver Councilwoman Candy Cidabacca, Democratic Socialist, posted the clip from the runoff election forum this week to her TikTok.
A check today could not undo the cumulative impact of generations of that stolen wealth in all of those categories.
Both Cidabacca and her opponent, Darrell Watson, support racial reparations. Watson suggested private business investment in underserved communities. Cidabacca suggested that Denver's white-led businesses could pay an extra tax that would go to minority-owned businesses.
You could be collecting those extra taxes from white-led businesses all over the city and redistributing them to black and brown-owned businesses who are not targeted or who are simply just black or brown owned. And that's one way to give back in the business form fashion.
Cidabacca told me San Francisco has a similarly aimed legacy business program. San Francisco's legacy business program supports long-standing small businesses regardless of the race of the owner. And it's funded through the city's general fund, not by taxing white-led businesses. Cidabacca also told me the constitutionality of a race-based tax is not a factor, because the tax would be considered voluntary if it was collected by business improvement districts, or BIDs. A BID is formed when a majority of business owners in an area vote to create a quasi-governmental agency with taxing authority. The City of Denver's Finance Department confirmed that once a BID is created, its taxes are not voluntary for businesses within the district.
There is a way for us to change that structure and put black and brown people in ownership positions over our basic needs.
After Cidabacca's post was picked up by right-wing media outlets, her office released a statement saying she is being, quote, targeted by a white nationalist mob. Cidabacca is frequently the only dissenting voice on a number of issues before City Council, and she's been a top target of the Democratic establishment in the city since she won a runoff against former City Council President Albus Brooks 4 years ago. Cidabacca faces a runoff election in June. Her race will be on that ballot June 6th, along with the mayoral runoff between Mike Johnston and Kelly Brough. They'll have one more debate on 9 News Tuesday, May 16th. That is the day after ballots go into the mail. It'll be live at 7 p.m. on Channel 20 and streaming on 9 News Plus. It's understandable that homeowners are upset by property tax bills projected to go up 30, 40, 50%. Some owners of commercial property have it worse. Like the couple in northern Colorado who opened their restaurant 6 weeks before the pandemic, managed to survive that just to get a commercial property tax bill going up 162%. Here's Marshall Zellinger.
The reality, we have 3 children and live in the area. Hi there, how are you?
Try talking to a restaurant owner around noon.
Well, I was sorry. Oh, there's more people coming.
We should have known.
Okay, and is this for here to go? Did you need a drink? Oh, got it.
I mean, look at the logo.
Being crazy like a chicken with my head cut off.
Nicole and her husband.
I told him yesterday that he was my favorite person to work with.
What kind of pills you been feeding her?
They serve fried chicken and donuts in Tinmouth.
But because of short staffing, I'm cashiering a couple days a week. So I'm finding my footing.
They also own the commercial condo, so they don't have to worry about a landlord raising the rent.
That was a huge priority for my husband and I, is that we wanted to own our space. We didn't want to have to lease.
But they're still likely to have a hole in their budget.
Steep tax bill.
Because of the property tax bill they just got for their business address.
So it was like $8,000, and now for this year, what we would be paying next year is $21,000. When it is like basically your complete livelihood, and we have everything poured into this.
Just like residential property, Commercial property owners can also appeal the higher value.
Which we look at things like income and expenses and vacancy rates.
Larimer County Assessor Bob Overbeck suggests for commercial property owners to provide the county information it may not know about, like any office space not utilized for any reason.
We listen to everybody's concerns and where they're coming from, but we just have to look at the facts and the data.
I used to think, landlords were greedy and they keep upping leases and everything after 5 years, and then you see these businesses going out. And I get it now as a property owner. It's because they have to compensate for their property tax.
You can get fried out owning a business.
Assessing that, sorry. Hi, how are you?
Or fry enough food to pay off the unexpected expense of being your own landlord.
We have to figure out how are we going to make this work. Thanks for coming in, you guys. Bye.
I also talked with Nicole about absorbing the property tax bill or having to raise prices. She said it's a catch-22, keep prices the way they are and try to get the people who still have discretionary income to eat out while also paying their high homeowner bills, or raise prices and then risk sales dropping off because you've scared people away or they can't afford it.
I hesitate to ask, how are they doing on their residential bill?
52% increase on their and so they live in Larimer County. Yeah. They own their business building in Larimer County, and they're getting it from both sides.
Yeah, they're getting popped. Man. But their business model is fried chicken and donuts, which is genius.
Endless customers.
Endless customers. If anybody is going to make it, it's the place with fried chicken and donuts because it just looks so good. Marshall, thank you. Shelter capacity in the city of Denver is almost capped out, and that's happening just as we are starting to see more migrants coming to Denver from the southern border. Our Angeline McCall spoke one-on-one with Mayor Michael Hancock about the challenges ahead.
So just this week, El Paso declared a state of emergency because of the number of migrants there, and we know that there are thousands at the border. Are you expecting an influx of migrants, and is the city doing anything to prepare?
Yes, we expect that we will see a surge. We've expected this for a while at the conclusion of Title 42.
Are you at all worried that those who do not encounter immigration, that they will be unsheltered? Do you worry about tents with migrants?
Absolutely. We want to provide the best service. We want to make sure that they have an experience here that allows them to get more stable, allows for them to become more independent, and allows for us to, without concern, provide the best services we can for them. But we can't do that, or we're extremely limited because we have finite resources. And so unfortunately I had to make a tough call and say, hey, we got to get out of the shelter business, and two, we can only really provide direct services to those who have had contact with migrant officials at the border.
I know in 2016 you said that you welcome the title of a sanctuary city. Is it easier to say that when you don't have to put resources and money into sheltering or housing migrants?
We have never stopped. We've always been providing resources. This is overwhelming. This is unprecedented. This is a whole new level of activation and resource allocation we've had to make. We've never seen this level of demand in the city of Denver in terms of our migrants. I still believe that it was never a program, it was a value, it is a value of the city of Denver to be a welcoming, inclusive city.
If migrants are on the street, do you think that that is an image of a sanctuary city?
Well, I don't know what an image of a sanctuary city looks like. We'll continue to do everything we can to provide the best services. What we cannot do, and as mayor, what I cannot do as the trustee of the city, is to put the city in a financial bind. And I got to tell you, $12 million not being secure that the federal government is going to reimburse us really puts a potential danger or dagger in our ability to provide the services to all the people of Denver, including our residents and taxpayers. And so the outlook looks dim if we don't have a strategy to make sure that we're getting reimbursed for what we're trying to do.
181 migrants came to Denver today alone, more than 200 yesterday. With shelter capacity almost full, the city hasn't said if they will open more shelters or how they will deal with more arrivals if capacity reaches its limit.
So if the city shelter system, the formal shelter system, is not an option, what's even being talked about?
Yeah, I think that they're trying to find solutions, but you heard Mayor Hancock there say, I asked him if he believes that migrants will be in tents, and he said that it could be a possibility. At this point, there I'm still waiting to hear back to learn if there are going to be rec centers opened, if they're going to expand their shelter system. We're just not sure what's going to happen at this point. And if migrants continue to come, there's going to have to be some kind of solution one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, your reporting took you to El Paso, Texas, where you saw folks living on the streets because the shelters were all full there. All right, Angeline McCall, thank you. Let's talk about lives changed, about young people who didn't finish high school, aren't really working in anything that could become a long-term career. Instead, finding focus in their lives, purpose in their lives, finishing that high school degree, and helping communities across Colorado in the process. Let's talk about this week's Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign to support the nonprofit Mile High Youth Corps. You've raised $11,000 and counting. Coloradans 18 to 24 years old enroll in their programs to work in environmental conservation, energy efficiency, home improvement, construction, healthcare. They get a stipend, they get help with housing, and most importantly, they get that high school degree and a path to a successful career. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to join me and a bunch of other Coloradans in donating to Mile High Youth Corps. They are at work right now in communities from the Denver metro area all the way down to the New Mexico state line.
Their mission is not affordable housing, and ours is.
Denver's Landmark Preservation Committee kills a proposed affordable housing development. And this week's good news is all about what you can do for others. Take a look at these donations headed for Ukraine. This is an effort that you helped with, and it's next. Democrats at the state capitol got one more gun control bill through today, despite Republicans trying to stall and run out the clock on the legislative session. The bill headed to the governor's desk would crack down on so-called ghost guns, which are often made or 3D printed with DIY kits to get around background checks. The bill makes it illegal to own or sell firearm frames or receivers without serial numbers on them. It requires a federal license to manufacture them. People who already own ghost guns, modern guns without serial numbers, would have to bring them in to get stamped with a serial by January 1st. The bill would also make it a felony to own machine gun conversion devices, which modify semi-autos to automatically fire without having to repeatedly pull the trigger. Historical preservation seems to often be at odds with affordable housing projects proposed in Denver. Now the city's Landmark Preservation Committee has gone head-to-head with a church congregation that wanted to build more housing in Cap Hill.
It just blocks the sky from so many different viewpoints.
The affordable housing, I mean, it's noble, but it's not really an issue for us.
Affordable housing is not their deal on the Preservation Committee. Nope, they are about preserving. And as you heard them there say, preserving the view of the sky is important. One of the reasons they turned down the Baptist Church's proposal to build affordable housing. First Baptist near the state capitol wanted to put up a 12-story building in the parking lot. 20% of the units would be income qualified. Commission turned it down because the parking lot's in a historic district. The commission said the district zoning requirements only allow construction up to 8 stories. Church says they're going to try again, come back with a downsized proposal.
It was disappointing for us, for sure, but I understand that their mission is not affordable housing, and ours is, so we'll hopefully reach an accommodation.
Of course, a smaller building likely means less affordable housing. The church is planning to keep 20% of the units affordable in the bigger building. They're not sure if they're going to be able to hit that benchmark if they have to reduce the size. Preservation Commission's been on a roll lately. Just last month, they got approval from City Council to keep a home in City Park West from being demolished. The developer who had purchased the home wanted to build what he called affordable housing on that lot.
It was a wild afternoon across I-70 in and around Bennett. A dust storm pushing through, still some ominous skies looking off to the east across the city. But really the big action, all the scattered thunderstorms as well as the showers pushing across the far northeastern plains for us tonight. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch in place until 11 o'clock this evening. Heavy rainfall coming through, so much lightning, plus they're even seeing hail and of course the gusty winds. All of this tracking slowly off to the north and to the east. I mentioned the winds. We've seen anywhere between about 40 to 50, 60-mile-per-hour gusts coming out of those storms across the northeastern plains, but also in and around far southeastern Colorado. They're looking at some strong winds, and unfortunately, with the heat out there, we're going to be looking at high fire danger, not just throughout the rest of this evening, but tomorrow too. The red flag warning will go back into effect for us. Humidity values incredibly low, and the heat once again will be on. Tonight, by about 10 o'clock, all those showers will be pushing out of the state. Overnight, might be a bit unsettled up in the mountains, but the sunshine is back for us early on your Saturday morning. Clouds quickly racing in, but that really is going to be about it. It really doesn't look like we will see much in the way of moisture tomorrow. Highs returning to the 70s, low 80s across the eastern plains, 40s, 50s up in the mountains. Isolated storms once again possible for us on Sunday. A big warm up next week with a better chance for rain coming our way Thursday and Friday.
The people of Colorado continue to support the people of Ukraine. Airlift after airlift.
It makes me feel real darn good.
Volunteers share their good news as we celebrate their good work. Next. Coloradans have not forgotten Ukrainians. Last March, one of your Word of Thanks campaigns raised $435,000 for Project Cure. It's a nonprofit here that airlifts medical supplies and equipment into trouble spots around the world. Your donations loaded cargo containers with what Ukrainians needed at the time, and still do. Folks at Project Cure, their volunteers, shared their good news with us today as they packed up their latest shipment.
I really enjoyed it. It's a great workout and a great opportunity to help. Oh, sweet.
My great news is that we are sending our 101st container to Ukraine from the Project Cure warehouse.
The cargo containers also include equipment like just about anything you can think of that would be needed in a hospital.
Gloves and bandages and tourniquets.
Syringes, hypodermic needles.
These are exam tables.
I've been doing this volunteer work at Cure for 10 years.
And this was a great opportunity to get involved with something that helps people around the world.
Well, the good news is that we can change the world. You know, sometimes we watch these stories unfold and it's just, you feel kind of helpless. The truth is we are not helpless. And if we get involved and we start working together, we can change the course of history.
We get thank you notes all the time.
The mayor of Kyiv had sent us a video earlier this year thanking Project Cure for the donations of all the equipment and supplies that have gotten there already.
Thank you very much for everyone to support Ukraine.
We need more goodwill, more hope.
Find something to do and do it. You are empowered. You can do things.
My good news is we've been able to successfully fully load a container going to the Ukraine, to a hospital in the Ukraine that needs medical supplies and equipment, and it's been a successful load this morning.
Perfect.
Your final word for this week is a critical one about fashion. Not mine. That's next. Feedback from Diane tonight, who says people own ghost guns for a reason. They are not going to register them. I certainly will be watching just how many people bring in their ghost guns to get a serial number stamp under the new law. You do raise a good point about that, Diane. But non-compliance could be argued against any single law. We should get rid of all of them. I don't know. I, for one, am glad that we have speed limits outside schools and stuff like that, even if not everybody pays attention. Michelle writes in to say, love those Versace sunglasses the Denver mayor is wearing. Isn't it a little tone deaf to wear them when discussing unhoused immigrants? I don't know, Michelle, I've been critical of the mayor on a lot of stuff. I'm not sure if his wardrobe should be it. I mean, take the governor. He's a really rich dude who looks like he gets dressed in the dark. Hancock is not a rich guy, but he likes fashion. Judge him on their policy, not on their wardrobe. I don't know. See you next time.